What's going on, y'all? It's your boy, J.H. Gibbons here.
As we'll see.
And welcome to yet another episode of the Acromas Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, episode 17.
What?
Yo, he's here, bro.
I'm here, guys.
Yo, what's going on?
What's up?
Yo. This is the very first time. If you're just joining us, this is your very first time. This is the first time you're seeing us in person after about 17 weeks or something, 16, 17 weeks doing this over Zoom. We're like, we got to make this happen, man. We got to come together for the people, make it real.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the vaccinations happening and everything,
yeah.
these sort of settings can happen.
Yeah. Well, now I have not gotten my second shot, so I'll, I'm saying, maybe I should have announced that earlier, but no, I'm next weekend, actually, the 21st, I'm supposed to get it. And what's funny is my neighbor, she got her second one, and she was like, yeah, that thing was thanging. So I was like, oh, that's great, because the first one was bad. So now the second one's just going to be worse. So that's absolutely great. I'm looking forward to being fully vaccinated, though. Hey, real quick, bro.
Yeah.
I got not season tickets, my bad. I got the season opener tickets for the Washington football team.
Hey. Let's go.
The stands gonna be full. Let's go. Hail to the
go.
Football team. Hail to the football team, yo.
Yeah, let's make that clear. If you don't know, you'll learn.
Mm-hmm.
That we
Absolutely.
are avid fans.
Avid fans, man. Hey, I mean, the draft was looking good. I know preseason is gonna be banging, and that very first game, to all the fans out there of any sort of sport, man, we're starting to get back to where we were back in 2019. And I know everybody's excited. I'm very excited. I can't wait. I'm going to be there early. I think we're going to be tailgating from like 9 a.m. It's going to be crazy. But I am so hyped to have sports back. I'm hyped to have the NFL back. And I'm glad that we're at a point where we're able to progress. I think being able to progress is very, very important in our society. But at the same time, man, I feel like there's sometimes where we're regressing as a society, because I would go outside and I would see a line that would go maybe 2 or 3 traffic lights down the street of people waiting for gas. But here's the thing too, right? Because they're not just getting gas. They're not, what I'm saying? They're not just waiting in line. Like some of these gas stations clearly say, no gas here. Yeah. Please do not wait in line for gas. Yeah. But what happens, the reason we got to that point, besides the hacking that those guys did, by the way, I mean, bravo. If you were able to hack into a system to hack the guy, I mean, that's incredible. Like, look,
yeah, what can you say
kudos
about that?
to millionaires now, whoever that was. I mean, look, I don't,
yeah.
I don't, we're not endorsing hacking.
No, not at
all.
Do
not hack us.
Do
not do it.
Please.
There's not much to get, but please don't do it. Do not do it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they got millions of dollars, man. I don't know who these people are, but hey, kudos to you. You walked away with money, but I don't know how far they'll get. I mean, we got a pretty strong system here of capturing the bad fellas, right?
One can hope. Guys. I mean,
capture some of the good guys.
Yeah,
too, so
sometimes.
It's kind of rough. Were you able to fill up on gas?
What I did was I had heard a snippet about it, but I didn't know completely what had happened. And then when I did hear about it, it was already in the evening. I probably had at the time a half a tank of gas, so I was like, all right, I should be fine. But you know what? Let me go stock up. Matter of fact, I think it was after one of our meetings.
Okay,
I was like, let me go get some gas.
Yeah, smart man right here.
Well, I went through about 3 or 4 different gas stations before I actually ran into what I needed. I use regular for my vehicle.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, I'm a little something. But I take care of my baby, so I gave her what she needed, and it just was crazy to see the lines there, and even more crazy to see people legitimately filling up like buckets and barrels and even plastic bags with just gas. Like I just couldn't process what I was seeing, because I didn't know exactly to the severity of it, but now I knew something was going on. So I was like, damn, there's no gas.
None.
And then, I got it. So now I'm scared. What I found funny about it though, Jay, was this. Mm-hmm. When I got a slight better understanding of it, I was like, all right, real talk, guys. The people out there who are doing this probably are the people who was the avid hand sanitizer takers, the people that was out there with the toilet tissues. What was the other thing that they were doing? There's something else they
Man, I
use.
mean, there was water, all those
Water.
things. Yeah,
Oh,
water was a big thing,
mm.
and God, what else was there? Uh,
Well, wipes. They were the wipes
ooh,
too. The
wipes,
wipe
yep,
sanitizer ones
yep,
too.
yep,
Yeah. So here's the crazy part about that.
yeah.
All of you people out there, we got love for you, but stop it, please, because the only thing that was really said was that, hey, there may be an upcoming shortage of it, and really it was going to affect the airlines. You hear me? It was going to affect people traveling.
I thought y'all wanted to leave the house.
Apparently not,
What y'all
because
doing?
they took that and
Man,
now people processing was like, oh, you know what? Let me go get all the gas. So what's happening is it's the people. Hey, hear me out, guys.
that's
It's the
crazy.
people.
That's crazy.
It's the people that are actually the ones that's at home.
Oh my
It's the one that's probably not
God.
really going out.
Yeah,
That's are the ones that's stocking up on
yeah.
this. So what's happening is it's
Boom.
making people who have to travel and commute quite frequently.
Mhm.
Now they have to go do the same thing
Yep,
because it's a snowball effect.
yep.
So
I mean, gosh,
yeah.
look, we did this in 2020, right? That wasn't that long ago. I mean, we had to, you know what I'm saying? You have people going to Giant and taking the whole rack of toilet paper, bro. How's the brother supposed to wipe? You ain't got toilet paper or wipes. What am I using? What am I, leaves?
I
Am I
mean,
using
yeah,
leaves?
we can go back to nomad periods of time in
Yeah, right.
history and just kind
Just
of,
hop in the
I guess.
shower after I'm done taking the deuce, and then it's like, what? Come on, man! Like you gotta look out for your fellow man. This is why we
Yeah.
struggle. This is why the struggle is always real, because the moment there's some sort of announcement of a potential scarcity, y'all just go, wow, y'all forget the scarcity. I want all of it for myself.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Look. Here's what I did. Right,
Mm.
take it from me. I filled up one time, filled up overnight, no traffic, no lines, nothing. Good. I'm straight. And I still would look. I went to work. I went to work Friday. I drove down there, and I worked maybe about an hour and a half for work. So it's 3 hour commute both ways,
Mm.
all together. So I'm still straight, man. I still got, I use premium, so I guess I am pretty fancy.
Oh yeah, well, actually, you're more fancier
Well,
than me,
yeah, there you
sir.
go. That's well,
Yes, yeah.
there we go.
This guy.
Right. So I got it, and I think, like, with my vehicle, if I'm on the highway, like it says, 435 miles left. I'm telling you to fill up. So I'm good for a very long time.
Yeah.
And if I needed to, I can go to, like, Montana and fill up on some gas. You know what I mean? So I'm straight. But
Yeah.
the point is, like, if you hear that something is about to be scarce, don't go run it out faster. Right? You're supposed to ration. Like that's what we did. Like if there was like, oh, yo, there's a missile coming, hide in your basements, whatever, make sure that you have enough food to survive. Like, I just feel like y'all just gonna eat all the cans of spaghetti, and then nobody's gonna be able to survive. You're like, oh, we need more spaghetti. You just ate all the cans. Like, you
Yeah.
just gotta it's okay. Like, we're getting back to normal now. They were able to rectify the situation. You're gonna get your gas. Relax, relax. But I know we can go back and forth on gas for as long as we breathe here, but
Yeah.
um, I think, I think based on what we talked about last week, when it comes to cancel culture, and when it comes to silencing a voice that is opposing to the general population, or where you see society moving, I think that, and this is just me, and I'm probably pretty sure you agree with me here too,
Mm.
but I think that affects progress. It affects us moving forward as a society. I think that there are many, many changes in society that can happen when you silence the opposition, right?
Mhm.
I mean, perfect example. If for whatever reason I didn't agree with some sort of societal change that's going on now, I now feel afraid to make it known to the public, because I feel like I'm going to be pretty much going to be kicked out of the kingdom, if you will. I feel like I'm not getting the opportunity to voice my opinion that may or may not be the correct way to look at something, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think
No,
I
that's true.
think that I think that when you are opposing to something that many, many other people agree with, I really think that you need to be careful with what you say and how you say it. And I think in society we're all learning, right? I mean, Facebook, Twitter, IG, all that's rather new. But what I've been seeing, especially after last year's election, I'm not getting political here, but you have seen a silence of, so to speak, of a side that was roughly mostly against Biden. And again, this is not a political thing, but it's an observation. Like if you're going to silence one side and have the other side be the side of be the side of the right, not the right side, but the side of correctness, the side of this is what we're going to be doing going forward, everybody get on board or fall behind. It is not healthy for society, man. I mean, what is your take on cancel culture? And have you been canceled? Have you seen somebody canceled? Do you listen to certain, whether it's podcast or TV, whatever, any form of media where you've seen somebody get canceled and you're like, why did that happen?
I think nowadays it's just so out there where almost anything can get you canceled. Where I think to a degree it's just such a level of implicit bias
Mm,
on so many different spectrums that people people willfully choose to ignore certain things that they see and just or what they hear, and just solely just base it to be what they consider factual only on
mm,
what they choose to be aware of. And if it's something that's a little uncomfortable,
right.
we approach an area where people just don't want to discuss the topic,
Mm,
because it takes them in a place that they're just not familiar with.
mm,
And that even goes just on a bigger scale for like what we see on social media, what's out there.
yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, in my opinion, there are some things out there that is just that gets the kind of attention that you'd wish other subjects would. Where
Mm,
it's silly. Like certain things,
yeah.
it's just like as for humanity, like
Mm,
we should be discussing and talking on that
right.
requires the time and attention
Mm,
and to grow. But yet, in those some instances where you may have someone that is expressing something that could truly be beneficial, just as an eye-opening experience for everyone
mhm,
involved, people who don't want to do the work or have those tough conversations, they're the first ones to chastise those individuals,
mm.
and then say like, hey, you know, there's no place for this. We don't want this.
Mm.
We don't want to deal with that.
So why do you think they go to that length though to completely shut down someone? And look, there are limits, right? You can't be out there being racist and
Well,
sexist like
yeah.
overtly, of course.
Mhm.
But there's still supposed there's nuance, right? There are certain things that you have to know more about from somebody else's perspective, to then understand, okay, maybe if I look at it this way a little bit more, then I would educate myself as also, as well as educate others. But there's an issue when you can't even get to that point because you're, as you said, you're just immediately silenced because they don't want to. For what I mean, is it an emotional thing? Do they feel like if they fought so hard to get to this point in society or have this particular movement be at the forefront, that any sort of opposing opinion to that is now, is because for me it makes it seem like it's built on something that is fragile. Like
Mhm.
if your movement or if your platform that you're standing on is so fragile that just one opinion or the opinion of others, that it's a, a rightful opinion, so to speak, it's logical, that is going to somehow break down the movement, then how strong is the movement in general? Like how strong is a movement if it could be shaken to the core with, with one opinion or two opinions on how things are run, right?
Mhm.
People have questions. You're always going to have questions. And when somebody's observing something that seems to be BS and they call it out on it, like, it is your duty to defend that, right? If you feel as though somebody is not getting the right picture, the right image of what you're pushing or what you believe is right, it's important that you educate that person. But you can't then say, "Oh, it's your fault. You're not educated. It's not my job to do so. Go kick rocks. Go do whatever. Go back to your own community, back to your own party." Because here's the issue, and here's where I could see a change in society. You're gonna have this massive counterculture, And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing unless they are resorting to violence to get their point across. You don't want this, you don't want some sort of underground militia of people who should not be holding weaponry, but have, military grade weapons and are, planning certain things that we don't know about because they're no longer on Facebook, no longer on IG, they're no longer on Parlor, which is a platform that typically was more right wing. And I'm not calling right wing people terrorists, but what I'm saying is that if you have a particular set of people who believe in something so strongly and they don't feel like their voice is heard, they're also going to explode. They're also going to be pissed off. And the issue is if they're pushed in a corner in the dark where you can't see what they're doing, whether it's from the right or left, they're going to have an opportunity to build something so strong that it's going to be hard to stop. And when I say strong, I don't mean, peaceful protesting or, lobbying for something. I mean violence. I mean killing. I mean mass murders, mass shootings. And you're starting to see bits and pieces and little pockets of things that you're like, man, this is random. I mean, there's a random shooting at a nail salon. There's random attacks. And you're like, it's so random that you're like, there has to be somewhere online where this is festering, where people are sharing things that may not be true. They're pissed off about whatever. They felt like they lost. They felt like they're now back in the bottom of society. And I gotta admit, I'm not seeing much coverage of that. I'm seeing a lot of coverage of what Biden is trying to do and what people in power are trying to do. And it seems like the opposite, the opposition is now silence. So when there's silence, it's not that they disappear; they don't fade, right?
No,
I mean, when the
no.
civil rights movement happened and segregation ended, like people, say like racist white people weren't just like, oh, okay, come on, blacks, we love you. Like that was
Yeah,
the case.
no, it
That
wasn't.
was never the case, and
Nope.
we're still battling that in certain communities this day.
Yeah.
So why would that not be different than what's happening now with certain people who have a different ideology and disagree with what the majority is going off of? I personally, I just think it's dangerous, man.
I agree. No, you're absolutely right about that. I
Mm,
mean, that this is why it's important that it is brought to the forefront in a way where um I think the key to it is communication.
mm,
That's where it all starts.
mm,
People being willing to communicate
mm,
and knowing how to do so effectively.
mm. Yeah, that
And
part.
that's the biggest
That
part
part.
with it.
Yeah.
But again, that in some instances, that's really what's embedded into you growing, how you've grown up and what you've invested into yourself. uh the ability to check your ego at the door, step
Mm,
outside yourself, step outside of your way, so that you can be open
mm,
to someone opinion that may just be a bit subjective to your own.
mm. How does one do that though? Like, how does one look inside themselves and say, well, hell, maybe I'm wrong on this subject, or I don't know enough, or
Mm.
maybe I should hear somebody else's perspective? What does it take for somebody to sit down and really think that that's how they should start maneuvering?
uh I think I would say for me, first to just
Yeah.
realize that my opinion on any and everything isn't absolute.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like growth is constant.
mm,
So that's in all in every aspect. So I'd have to humble myself
mm,
if I choose growth.
mm.
And I think that's where it starts to realize that, you know, yeah, I don't know everything,
Right.
and I won't know everything,
Mm,
but I do want to learn. I'm
mm,
open to have a conversation with someone who may not come from the same background as myself,
mm,
because you have a history, you have a
mm.
story as to why you are the way you are, or why
Mm.
you feel how you feel, no different than I do.
Right.
And we just have to be adults and communicate effectively through
Mm,
being willing to leave those sort of thoughts at the door that's going to hinder you from that growth,
mm,
because we step in our own way. Just like, for example, you could have two children, maybe let's say for like 4 years old, depending on wherever they are in the world,
mm.
and you bring them together before the people in the world gets to them,
Right.
right? And they'll play, they'll be okay. They'll be
Mm,
content in each other's company because they don't know anything outside of what is there, and they're growing in those moments with one another,
right.
communicating, albeit through to play, through gesture, through talking,
Mhm.
and just learning. And then in those instances, it's just the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
But as adults and as we grow, Jay, I think we were talking about something similar recently about something about when you get a certain age, to my
Mhm.
opinion, or with life events that come and people experiences, we
Yeah.
pass that on to the next generation. Like
Mm.
we give them our trauma, we
Yeah.
give
Ooh,
them our
yeah.
hurt. So
Boy,
what do you think is going to happen
yeah.
with us embedding the negative aspects of what we have
Mhm.
in addition to the qualities we think to be good?
Mm.
So if we're not doing the work within ourselves to check
Right.
ourselves, you're only going to pass that along. And we're
Right.
not perfect, so we're not
Right.
going to get everything right.
Right. Right. Right.
I'll say as a father, I'm not going to get
Mm.
everything right. I can only embed into my children the best things that I think is possible for their growth and their
Mm.
future long term
Mhm.
through my history, through what
Mm.
I've been through and
Right.
what I think are good things.
Right.
But that all depends on my moral compass and the work I've done for me and continuously doing through
Right.
this process,
Mhm.
so that in these moments when they face those sort of adversities with
Mm.
life or event, political
Mm.
relationship, whatever it may be, they can be open-minded
Mm.
to be willing to be able to communicate effectively and
Mhm.
emotionally communicate.
So you wouldn't push them towards being a Republican or Democrat.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Okay.
I wouldn't, honestly, with my faith being what it is, I'm
Right.
not going to force that on them.
Mm.
I will let them grow into their own. Look, let me say
Mm.
something.
It's the best way.
My grandfather and my father were Muslim.
Mm.
My mother
Oh, I
grew
never knew
up,
that. I didn't
yeah.
know that. Wow.
My grandmother was Methodist. My mother grew up Baptist.
Okay. Right.
I've embraced Catholic, Roman Catholic.
Mm.
So as my choice of what I need for my faith. So that's just to kind of say, hey, look, because you're given a certain thing, or you're taught a certain kind of way, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should limit yourself to understanding others that don't have the same concept of view as you.
Mm. Right.
Because I grew up in all of those areas. So I
Right.
have an understanding of them enough.
Mm.
But I made conscious choice of what was for me, but not to tune myself out and shut me down from
Mhm.
everyone else and their beliefs or what their opinions are, or to not
Right.
take certain parts of it and embrace it because it makes me better.
Mhm.
And that's no different than the concept of what we're discussing now, where like the idea of like cancel culture and how people are just quick to write someone off, or
Yeah.
to pass judgment in a way that we shouldn't, because we're all here to learn, we're all growing,
Absolutely.
we're learning. So
Yeah.
I don't, if someone, honestly, someone who's racist at this point, I don't harbor hate or resentment for these individuals. I pity that they have shut themselves off to
Mhm.
not grow
Mm.
outside of their comfort zone within their pond,
Right.
because there's a river that's bigger and there's an ocean that's even more broad than that.
Mhm.
So if you limit yourself, you're limiting your growth
Yeah.
and that of your generations to
Yep.
come. So I think it's important, Jay, for us to kind of take some of those things and
Okay.
really put thought into it. And if you are at a
Sure.
place where you're harboring some sort of resentment or some sort of inability to work through something with someone, I'm not saying tolerate
Mhm.
foolishness.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
No.
No.
Foolishness
No.
is foolishness. And it
Mhm.
should be handled accordingly, maturely.
Right.
But check yourself to make sure that you're aligned with yourself, that you are growing
Yeah.
and willing to learn.
Mm.
Otherwise, you may find yourself being a victim of embracing that implicit mindset as well, the implicit bias
Mhm.
mindset too.
Would you ever be open to having a conversation with a clan leader like a David Duke?
Mm,
I'm not talking about, like someone who's uneducated on
mhm,
anything that they even believe in. They just saw it on TV, or that's how they were raised, as you talked about, how
mhm,
certain parents are bringing that into their children and forcing them down some sort of road, and to embrace and adopt some
mhm,
sort of doctrine. But I think that is another question. Like, would
mhm,
you would you be willing to have a conversation with it's hard to say an intelligent racist, but somebody who can give you an answer that isn't just something that somebody else spewed on TV,
mhm,
like a David Duke, who
mhm,
is, he's higher rank.
mhm,
Um, he's a higher rank guy with that whole thing. So would you be open to having a conversation with him, or is it
mhm.
something that would you cancel him completely because of his, because of how he sees races.
So let me say this, and this is not to avoid your question.
Mm,
I can only put it based on my actual experiences with this and that
sure.
particular scenario of hypothetically speaking, because this is something I deal with all the time now.
Mm,
Stereotypically speaking, I
mm,
deal with people who has a certain perspective of the average black person.
yeah.
I've had these conversations culturally with other folks who feel indifferent about what a black man should be like and
Right.
what the experience is, where I get all of the time you're not like them.
Mm,
We've had this conversation similar in the past, but it's a reality where in those moments I didn't shut myself off. I said, you know what, let's have that conversation. If
mm,
you're up to it, let's have that conversation.
mm,
Why do you see it this way?
mm,
What separates me from just being William
mm,
to being black, to being an educated black man, to being different than someone of ignorance who happened to be black?
mm.
Because ignorance is ignorance, it doesn't wear color.
Right.
So in those moments I've had those conversations to the point to where there are moments at times where it's we agree to disagree
Mm,
in certain areas, but I'm open to understand why you may feel this way, especially in
mm.
some instances where there have been maybe experiences of trauma. So how can
That
I
they
shut
have.
someone out? So
Right.
with this particular person, who knows
Mm,
what, and truthfully, the experience that has led up generationally
yeah.
to the trauma that this person may feel,
That's
to
very true.
that man may feel.
Right.
So no different than my experiences. So I wouldn't shut off anyone from a
Mm,
conversation that could be mature enough to have that conversation with me,
mm,
and we come out with an understanding, because to its core, racism is fear.
right.
To its core, and
Right.
there's no amount of denouncing that. I don't
Right.
care
That's
who you
absolutely
are.
true.
That's what it is. Just
Fear what you
like,
can't understand. What you don't
right.
know. Yeah.
So, and I say that confidently, even with the stereotypical mindsets of folks that I've encountered. Fear is their reason for feeling the way they feel.
Mm,
So in most instances, that's what it is that drives us in everything that we're doing.
mm,
You know, I just think that's something that really drives that sort of, like you said, cancel culture mentality,
mm,
is to its core is that. So in those instances, could I have a conversation with someone like that?
mm,
Absolutely. I can hold a conversation with anyone,
mm,
as long as it's going to lead to true growth and self development for me,
mm,
and I can have a true takeaway from it,
mm.
then I'm all for it.
That's dope.
So I can't say everyone's out here like that,
Right.
but that's because
Right.
in my healing and in my growth, I've
Mm,
arrived to a place where I can do that on all levels. I
mm,
just have to be able to have the counterpart be mature enough to effectively communicate, even through emotional barriers,
right.
to communicate with me,
Mm,
because that's what that's what we should be at this point in our lives,
right. I
where your
agree.
experience allows you to do that effectively, or work through methods of how to learn how to communicate with someone's
Mm,
style of
mm,
communication.
right.
Because sometimes you may come across someone that you are intellectually above, and you know
Mm,
that, and it's not that you're you're trying to make them feel small,
mm,
but you want to work with them to understand how they effectively
right.
communicate.
And they would have to be mature enough to be like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to learn what what you're saying, or based on your experience of what you have done. I'm willing to, allow myself to be more open, to the subject matter, or to your explanation, because of where you are in this. And I'm on the same boat with you. I would be willing to sit down and have, some sort of conversation with someone who has such opposing beliefs and opinions, because I honestly think I can leave that conversation learning more, not just about that person, but about myself. I think, and I think in general, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head, and that's kind of what I was looking for too. I'm like, well, what does cancel culture remind you of? It seems like it's just another face for fear. It's like there's they I think with certain movements, or with certain, certain ideologies that are becoming established now, I think they're trying their best to push any sort of opposition away, so that they can get on the top of this mountain. But the only way to go when you get there is down. So, like, what ends up happening when something happens within your movement that looks shady? What happens if your movement is, it's really grassroots, or it has the appearance of being, a really grassroots movement, anti-establishment, anti-big business, and then you're profiting millions and millions of dollars off of it. Like, that's not a good look. And look, I'm not telling anybody to do what do what you want to do with your money. I'm not saying you got to do XYZ, but it's about that appearance. It's about what you're pushing out there. And once you do that, your entire movement, your entire ideology just falls flat on its face. And that's why I was saying, I think like a lot of these, not a lot of these movements, they get to a certain point. A lot of it is based on hype. It's based on the movement at the moment. But then at some point, when things start crashing, when things start going the opposite way, when it comes out that a lot of the things that you're spewing aren't true, then your movement immediately dissolves. And then it's like, here's the issue though: those people that you canceled, those people that were against your movement, they can't do the same thing, right? Let's say you're wrong, right? Let's say I saw something on Facebook or on the news or on TV or wherever, and it turns out to be 100% wrong. But when I saw it come out, I blatantly went to this person and said, yo, you're racist, you're XYZ. I plastered, I have a massive, let's say I have a massive following of like 2-3 million people online. I plastered his face everywhere, called him a racist, say, I can't believe this person is still employed at XYZ. He loses his job, he loses his house, he loses his family. And now he has nothing. Turns out I was wrong. Turns out the thing that I posted was Photoshop from some other wackadoo Facebook group, and now he has nothing. Well, I don't even have to bear any of the consequences. I still have my followers. In fact, I may have even more followers because I put that out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I have more people who are believing in what I'm saying. Meanwhile, that person has nothing now, even though I was wrong, even though it comes out that I was completely 100% wrong. This person's not racist. Person never even said what I said he said.
Yeah.
He has nothing. I have more. And that's where I think you're seeing a lot of this anger come in. That's where I see it affecting progress, because we're not able to communicate effectively with people if we don't agree with what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how we progress as a society. I mean, I see us going backwards. I see us pushing one ideology to the front, and everything else doesn't matter. And I don't think we could survive that way. I mean, I think about, like, I don't know, was it Greece? Was it Rome? It was one of those places, one of those ancient juggernauts. And at some point they just started allowing everything to happen in their society.
Wrong. I
I
believe.
think it was probably
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah. See, this is how much I paid attention in school. So
Don't quote me. I just
right,
happen
it's one
to
of those. I
like
mean, like
mythology of
they
that.
started, they started doing things that you're seeing in our society now, where everything is welcomed, and if you were against it, you were ostracized, you were pushed aside. And then you saw, I think it was Rome. Then you saw the fall of Rome. You
Yeah.
saw you saw the ending of it. Look, I don't know when our time is going to be up as a country, as a nation. But if we continue to push that sort of thing, eventually it's going to get to that point where we're going to fall in within ourselves. There's going to be some leader that comes along that's, he is going to be anti everything that not we, but most people stand for, that the majority stands for.
Mhm.
And I feel like we probably already have that to an extent. But I think when the next one comes, there's always going to be a next one, because this seems to be where we're going in our nation.
Mm.
That it's going to be even more volatile than the last set of 4 years was. And dude, I don't know about you, but it worries me. I know you have children. I
Yeah.
have a godson, God bless. I
Yeah.
have a goddaughter as well. I'm getting married soon. Like, I'm thinking, I'm thinking about where all this is going to go.
Yeah.
I've spoken to certain people who are like, yo, I might go back to my home country in a few years and just live there, and kind of, just live off the fat of the land, build a farm or something, or get some land and start make a garden and do some manual labor and call it a day, because it is starting to get a little crazy around here, man.
Yeah. Well said, Jay. I mean, what do you think? You know, as a whole, we can do, and because for me, I think that, as I was referencing earlier,
Yeah.
that I think it just depends on the individual. It goes back to the person. It goes back
Mhm.
to you addressing your psyche and just addressing how you feel
But
about things.
what makes a person believe that they're wrong though? Like let's say they stood on this ideology or whatever their opinions for years, and they're like, bro, I got stats to back that up, man. I'm right, you're wrong. I don't care what you're seeing. Go away. Like what? How does somebody get past that realm to be like, no, no, here, let's have a conversation. Why am I wrong? Why am I looking at it differently than you are? Obviously, we're living in the same country. We're seeing the same things. Why are you so polar opposite of me, though we are looking and seeing the same things? Like how can you bridge that gap and be able to have a conversation to get to know a particular subject better, at least the whole opposite side. I'll
Hmm.
admit, dude, I there are times where I watch Fox News, there are times where I watch CNN, times where I listen to Ben Shapiro, times where I listen to Joe Rogan, and there's I'm forgetting all the other names right
Yeah,
now. But what I'm trying to say is that I want to be as well rounded with the information that I'm putting in my mind,
understandable.
because I then want to form my own opinions based on what I'm hearing, right? If something, if I hear something on the Daily Show where I'm like, yeah, okay, I could see that, I could see where that's going. Then I go to Ben Shapiro and I'm like, yeah, he makes sense as well. The truth sometimes is somewhere in the middle, right? It's somewhere in that gap where you can be like, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. I also understand where you're coming from. Here's my take on it. Both you guys are right to this extent because of XYZ.
Variations of truth.
Boom. Remember that? So check out our YouTube. You can watch that video.
Check us out.
It's very good. It's a very good video, by the way.
Yes.
But you know what I'm saying? It's I think if you're open to doing that, and I think in our generation we're a little bit, I want to say, I used to say we're a little bit more open to that, and I think there are certain people out there who are open to that, who look at it at both sides. Now we still have the polar opposites. We still have, like, for example, people in my family only watch CNN, but then I know people in that I work with that only watch Fox News.
Mm.
So it's like too much of one thing is not good, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if I'm eating pizza every single day, I've never eaten anything. I've never had a salad. Forget a salad. Don't like salads. I love my pizza. I've heard that Domino's said that kale is bad. Salads are bad.
Yeah.
Salads will promote terrorism. I've heard that, right? So let's say that's the only information I know. And I'm like, yo, I'm comfortable eating my pizza.
Yeah.
Even though obviously the pizza's not good, it's greasy, it's making me gain weight, I can barely breathe, I walk up the steps and I sweat. It's like, even though all that's happening, I'm like, no, no, no. I've been told that the pizza's great. So that's all I'm going to be. That's all I'm going to consume. What I'm saying is that you got to get the best of both worlds. Like, it's not good to consume just one media, just one form of media all the time. If you're going to consume anything, make sure you get a balanced diet, man.
Yeah. I mean, that
Yeah.
ultimately, like you said, allow you to kind of adjust your perspective
Mm-hmm.
in certain instances, and that may change with time. The more information you have on something,
Yep.
but check your ego at the door. Gotta check your ego at the
Bro,
door,
it's tough
man.
for some people to do that, dude.
Even if you, like you said earlier, you bring something that's factual to someone, they still may be
Yeah.
subject that implicit bias mindset.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that
no,
can't be
no.
true.
No,
No,
you're
no, no,
wrong.
no,
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 no, no,
no.
no.
They won't allow themselves to face the reality that in those instances they have to humble themselves in order to grow.
And even if you bring those stats and facts, they'll say, well, that was manipulated. That's, who wrote
Mhm.
that Politico? Okay, well, see, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. They're not real. They're not, so it's like,
Yeah.
damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Mm.
I think in our society, we're so diverse. Like, there's so many different cultures that make up America. Like, just be open. I, I've always been open. Thank goodness I grew up in a neighborhood that was very diverse. I had Indian friends. My first best friend was a white guy. Um, I've had black friends, I've had Hispanic friends, I've had Asian friends. Like, I've had a mixed bag of friends, and that's helped me understand different cultures more, different
Yeah.
styles, different
Yeah.
foods, different upbringings. Like, all of that helped me to be who I am today, as somebody who's just very open to learning, very open to developing myself more and helping others around me to do the same thing. So if I was going to give any sort of advice to you, it's just to be open. Like, just, you don't know everything. I don't know everything. He doesn't know it.
No,
Nobody knows
I don't.
everything. Why would you do yourself a disservice by not trying to learn more? Like, we in this life that we live only once. I feel like it's our destiny to discover, right? Like that, at least that's for me, right? I
Yeah.
I feel as though I am here to discover who I am, discover the world out there, discover what other people love to hear and love to be a part of as we're doing this podcast. That's also discovery. We're growing.
Yes.
Like, that's what I love to do. I mean, we'll see. Like, what do you think our audience out there should do to assist in the progress in society, and try to avoid the sort of um limiting things that cancel culture can bring upon someone.
I mean, I'll stay consistent with it.
Hmm.
Just do the work inward. It starts with you. I'm sorry. I don't want to say I'm sorry because I'm not. It starts with
It
you. It
does. It
starts with
does.
you as an
Yep.
individual. But what I have learned, especially in recent times,
Hmm.
it's interesting. We having this conversation with certain individuals that I know personally. They are comfortable with being in the shape and state that they're in, and they don't
Hmm.
want to seek change.
Hmm.
So, and that I think is fair to mention in this instance, you will just have people that just will not do it because they are in that state of comfortability of their own knowingness, and they
Right.
don't want to seek nor choose to, and they accept that as their reality.
Hmm.
That is a choice because we all
Hmm.
have a choice, but it to me is deep rooted by fear.
Hmm.
So it goes back to it, and I think like be willing to face yourself, be
Okay.
willing to dig deep inside yourself to realize that the world and everything is bigger than you,
Hmm.
and you are just in a place where you just want to grow and be better. And if you're at a place where you have offsprings or looking to have that, or people that you care about and you want to give that sort of good growth and examples and knowledge and wealth to them, then you got to lead by example. And in these instances, like what we're doing and what we're bringing, we're not being negligent to those folks who are like that. We get
Right.
this out there like that, which is why I'm reiterating it back to the individual and not as a whole per se, because
Hmm.
then you can make real progress as you start working on you
Right.
and break those generational traumas, because that's
Hmm.
what it is,
Hmm.
through addressing your fears.
Yep.
And we will get better generationally speaking. Will that
Hmm.
happen today or tomorrow? No. uh-uh we're not saying that, but when you're taking the stepping stones and you're providing that sort of energy into the world, hence what we're doing now,
Yeah.
it's a step in the right direction.
Yep.
And we're going to reach a lot. You hope we hope to reach
Oh
everyone.
yeah.
And then we understand in some instances there will be some that it may have to grow with time, but that's what this is about. And if you approach it with that perspective, I find it difficult to see how you could not succeed if you want that growth for you,
Hmm.
if you want it.
Man, there's so many things I want, man. I want the money, I want the cars, I want the fancy house. I want more time.
Time.
I want more time.
Time.
That's the one thing that we do not
Ooh,
get back, man.
time.
So,
Yes, sir.
jeez,
Yeah.
if I could tell y'all anything, it's important that you just invest your time wisely, because you don't know when
Absolutely.
your last time is going to be here, man. None of us know.
Hmm.
None of us know. We are
I agree.
borrowing time every single day.
Yeah.
So with that borrowed time, make sure that you do the best that you can to live the life that you love.
Yep.
That is what's very important. And look, I mean, I think when it comes to this particular topic, man, I do get it that there is some nuance there. Like,
Mm.
if there's somebody that is blatantly racist, if there's somebody that's blatantly sexist, like, yeah, obviously they should not have a platform where they're pushing something like that. But at the same time, that person has to understand what growth looks like. And I feel as though if you push them aside, if you push them towards the back of the line because of the things that they said in the past, they don't have an opportunity to grow. They don't have an opportunity to see the error of their ways and maybe change their mentality. I mean, there was a time when I was in college where there was somebody who was actually part of the Klan. and he came to our
Mm.
school to speak because he decided he wanted to leave the Klan. He didn't leave it while he was standing in front of us.
Boy, yeah. I denounce you now.
Yeah,
Nah, I get
yeah,
it. I
I'm
mean,
good.
hey.
I'm good, guys. I love everybody. No,
Mm,
I think he did it maybe like 5, 10 years prior, but he was
mm.
born into that type of hate.
See.
That's exactly what it was, and he said it. He said it just like that. His mother was like that. His father was like that. So that's all he knew. But
Mhm.
then he started looking beyond that. He started opening himself more. He started having conversations with different people, understanding different cultures, and he realized that it wasn't for him. It wasn't something that was within him. It was something that was put on him. So when he realized that, he's like, "Yeah, I'm a changed man. I can't believe that's how I was. I'm embarrassed, but I needed that growth. I needed to understand how wrong I was, how bad I was, and that's where he was today. So anybody can change, man.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah.
but they do have to realize that something that they're doing is not right. They
Hmm.
have to realize that, and then from that they have to do the work to change.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen overnight. So look, guys, we're here. Like, this is the first time we're in person. We're
Yeah.
changing it up for you.
Yeah.
We're growing,
Growth.
right? We're progressing. We're making money moves.
Yeah.
So for you, all y'all out there, we want you to get involved with this as well, as we do every single week, every single Sunday that we are on here. We've got a question to ask you now. Do you believe that ending cancel culture is necessary for progress? Simple. Do you believe that can that ending cancel culture itself is necessary for progress? I
Hmm.
mean, I think, if you were asking me this question, I think it needs to be looked at. I definitely do think that. I think, as we went over some of the nuances and stuff, the bad part of cancel culture is not necessarily calling somebody out on their BS, or calling out an issue for it being issue. It's destroying somebody who may not be in a growth pattern themselves. They may hate their life, they may hate themselves, they have a lot of things going on, and this is, whatever they're doing is the way that they can express that anger, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's them. So um I'm just like, man, I don't I'm not I'm not I'm not comfortable saying that you have to cancel it outright. But I would say that there needs to be there needs to be conversation. There needs to be an opportunity for those who make these errors and mistakes to be able to rectify those, to grow and become a better person.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, as I said before, in believing that it is necessary to end cancel culture, I just think for me, it's about the method in which would resolve it itself is just to do the work individually, because then there would truly be no need for that
Yep.
if, as a whole, eventually in society.
Mm,
If you're doing the work for yourself, because then you wouldn't have people to have that sort of avid mindset at all
mm.
times, because then they'd be willing to grow, just like the example you shared with that gentleman and
Right. Right.
what his self-discovery,
Yeah.
because I had to take a certain kind of work to face himself, his fear of what he didn't understand or
Hmm.
didn't know, and
That's
that's what
very
we
true.
all have to do.
That's very true. And I think that with some sort of situation like that, maybe not his in particular, because his was just sort of brought down through his lineage of racism and their own beliefs. But I think that there are some people that lash out because there is something that they've gone through that they fully have not healed from yet, or they really don't understand how to. They may be open to getting help, and they may say they really want it, but putting in the work to get that help, or understanding where you can go or how to do it, is a whole other thing, right? It takes action. Forget ideas, forget thoughts, theories. Action. Take action in that particular thing. So i think I think being able to deal with traumatic experiences or grief requires a lot. I mean, I think it requires a lot of internal discussions. It requires a lot of growth. It requires finding yourself and figuring out where you belong and where you are going. I think that trying to to deal with grief is something that you only know how to do, because everybody's different. I wouldn't try to push somebody to say, well, God, it's been a year, man. It's been 2 years actually. Just heal. You're good. Like, you're good. Move on. Like, move on. Like, come on. This happened a year ago. Look, you don't have to worry about it. It's, be happy again. Do not ever do that to somebody who's grieving. That is the worst thing you can possibly do. Allow them to heal the way they know that they can. Allow them to be the person that they are. Of course, provide guidance rather, but know that it is a journey that this person is on, and on the other side of that journey is an incredible human being. So we'll see, man. I think next Sunday's discussion is going to require me to buy a box of Kleenex. Hopefully those darn gas hoarders didn't buy all of the Kleenex that is out there, because we're gonna need some tissues on this table for next week.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a deep one. As you know, we all go through that, and even with, like, my experiences, I know that all too well. So it's like, it is a process, and there's a lot that we're going to need to dig deep in. So just be ready, guys. Be ready to join us through that. Feel those emotions through, and let them flow as they shall. Because you'll grow. You're gonna be growing. We're gonna be growing together through it.
Growth is hard.
It is
hard, but it is necessary.
Absolutely.
It's necessary.
It's because we're worth it. We're so damn worth it.
And it always feels so great to do it afterwards. As you're like, I feel better about who I am now. I felt like I've grown. I felt like I can move forward. I felt like, we are making progress, and everything feels great. But of course, I mean, where do they find us? Where do these guys find us?
Oh, come on.
Well, look at this.
What?
Look at this. It's on the hat, ladies and gentlemen. ACHROMOUS. That's how you can follow us.
Yes.
And here's another thing, right? Of course, we have Acromis Fitness. We also have the Acromis Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Follow us at the Acromis Podcast on IG, the Acromis Podcast on Spotify, the Acromis Podcast on YouTube, the Acromis Podcast on Facebook. I mean, literally follow us everywhere. If we're in Giant, if we decide we want to go, follow us there.
Absolutely.
Come behind us with your shopping cart full of goodies. We will be there for you.
Yeah.
Follow us in the airport. Follow us in traffic. Follow us undersea. Follow us everywhere.
In the sky.
Everywhere. Follow us in the sky. Everywhere. Hop on a plane. Follow our plane.
Yes.
Follow us everywhere. We're probably gonna be taking Spirit Airlines. We like Spirit Airlines. What is that? I hear that's the best.
It might be the
Spirit
move.
Airlines
I guess we'll
is
see.
the best. I've heard. I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong, but I've heard they're pretty good. But guys, just follow us. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on IG, Facebook, YouTube,
subscribe.
Spotify. Yes, please hit that subscribe button if you love this. If you love what you were hearing, you hit that subscribe button. It helps us out.
Yes, and it helps us reach more people like-minded, just like us.
Just like us, man.
Just like you.
Like, this is a growing thing, man.
Yes.
People are growing. People are loving this. Yeah. We're loving you for loving this, and we love doing this. That's why we're here to do it for y'all.
Absolutely.
So look, until next Sunday, it is your boy, in the flesh, man. In the flesh, J.H. Gibbons. And this guy right here.
And we'll see.
Till next Sunday.
Peace.